If you've played Pokemon Go for a while, you may take for granted the Charge Attack minigame. You know, the one where you have to pop a bunch of bubbles? But I've always found it weird how you have to do this activity so often during PvP, and yet the game offers no explanation as to why, or what effect popping the bubbles actually has. You may think you understand enough. It seems intuitive that if you pop fewer bubbles, then you'll do less damage, with the conclusion that you should simply pop them all. While that is basically true, and it may be enough for you, for me, this is far from a satisfying explanation, and I'm left with so many questions. For instance, if I pop 0 bubbles, will the attack do 0 damage? If not 0, then how much? If I pop fewer bubbles, will the attack take less energy? Do I need to pop all the bubbles to get maximum damage, or can I miss 1 or 2? Is there any situation where I might want to leave some bubbles unpopped? Are there any differences between different types of charge attacks, other than their patterns? In this video, we'll answer these questions precisely, using a combination of my own testing and testing done by the community. Stay tuned if you want to know how this game really works. I'm an indie game developer, and I made a game called Merchants of the Stars, available now on iOS, Android, and desktop. Links down there. It's a traffic control game where you guide cargo ships by tapping and dragging them, helping them reach docks to unload. I'm excited for people to try it, and I'd love to hear what you think. Play it now on the platform of your choice by following the links below or going to taugames.ca/MOTS. Let's start by addressing the difference that the charge attack type makes to its corresponding minigame. The most obvious difference is that each type has a unique pattern of bubbles. But it turns out that other than the different arrangement of bubbles, there are also a varying number of bubbles for each type. For example, the grass type pattern has 23 bubbles, as shown here. By contrast, the ice type pattern has 32 bubbles, as shown here. Reddit user WallowerPogo counted the number of bubbles for each type and created this handy graphic on the Sylph Arena subreddit. We see from the chart that the lowest bubble count is 23, and the highest is 37. In this column, we also see that WallowerPogo has recorded the number of bubbles you can miss while still being awarded excellent in the minigame. It turns out that for those types with only 23 bubbles, which are fighting, flying, and grass, you will be downgraded to a great if you miss a single bubble. For all other types, you can miss a single bubble and still get an excellent. For no type can you miss 2 bubbles and still get an excellent. Now, let's investigate the impact of missing bubbles. There's already some test results out there on Reddit, but since these results are quite old now, I decided to do some basic testing myself to verify that nothing had changed. I decided to test the grass type charge attack, Seed Bomb, against Blanche's Glaceon. The idea is this: use the attack against the Glaceon with full health, and then count how many pixels of its health bar are removed with various numbers of bubbles popped during the minigame. Pokemon Go doesn't give us exact HP counts during battles, so counting pixels is the best way we have to measure damage. Due to screen resolution issues, this method isn't perfectly precise, but it is good enough to figure out what's going on. In my first test, I hit all the bubbles. The orange part of the health bar shows how much damage I did. Measuring it, I found that the orange bar was 351 pixels wide. Measuring the entire health bar, I got 415 pixels in total. Next, I used Seed Bomb again, hitting none of the bubbles. Measuring the orange bar, I got 88 pixels of damage. Let's compare these results. 88 pixels divided by 351 pixels is almost exactly 25%. This appears to show that not hitting any bubbles reduces an attack's damage to a quarter of what it would be otherwise. This matches the results of Dr. Bill on the Sylph Arena subreddit, who measured that an ice attack's damage is reduced to 25% with no bubbles hit. So this result seems to generalize across types. But is the relationship linear? If I hit half the bubbles, do I go half of the way from 25% to 100% of the attack damage? For grass, hitting all 23 bubbles gives an extra 75% of the max attack damage. So if the relationship is linear, then each bubble should be worth 75% divided by 23, or about 3.26%. I did another test where I hit 11 bubbles and measured the damage to be 212 pixels. 212 divided by 351 is about 60.4%. Compared to hitting no bubbles, we've done an additional 35.4% of the max damage. So each bubble accounts for 35.4% divided by 11 bubbles, which is about 3.22% damage per bubble, extremely close to the predicted 3.26% for a linear damage relationship. This seems to confirm that damage scales from 25% to 100% linearly with the number of bubbles hit. Plotting a few more values for bubbles hit shows that while this relationship is a little bit noisy, it seems to hold. I'm too lazy to try all possible bubble counts, but Dr. Bill tested every number of bubbles for an ice attack and made these excellent charts. These confirm the linear relationship, with a slight caveat. It appears that for the ice attack, missing one bubble still gives 100% damage. For grass attacks, this was not the case. This seems to show that if you reach a score of excellent in the bubble minigame, then it guarantees you 100% damage. As we saw in the earlier graphic, for grass, this is only possible by hitting all the bubbles, but for ice, this is also possible while missing one. But what about nice and great? Unlike excellent, these don't seem to mean anything very meaningful. In this graph, showing the damage done by ice attacks, nice and great don't affect the linear relationship between bubbles and damage. Only excellent is special in that it guarantees 100% damage. So that answers the question about attack damage, but what about energy usage? My tests show that for both no bubbles popped and all bubbles popped, the same amount of energy is used. In both cases, one full circle of energy is consumed. Is there any situation where I might want to leave some bubbles unpopped? Surprisingly, yes. I've heard this called undercharging, and a typical use would be to avoid fainting a weak Pokemon, so that you have time to build up more energy against it for a later, stronger Pokemon. In the description, I've linked this Pokédaxi video explaining the undercharging concept. If you're interested in methods for reliably popping all the bubbles for all attack types, Pokédaxi made quite a good video on that topic as well, which I've also linked in the description. Be sure to like, subscribe, and check out Merchants of the Stars at taugames.ca/MOTS, available now on iOS, Android, and Steam. Bye for now!